Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
Welcome back to the Accountability Hour, the podcast where we tackle double standards, self-improvement, and the messy realities of relationships. This is Lynn Watchhorn. So I saw the most disturbing Facebook post, well, not post, comment, that I would like to go over. And this man was a total sweetheart. He helped load both women and children into the lifeboats, and when asked how, he casually said that he threw them in. And he didn't board a lifeboat himself because he didn't want to set a bad example as a man in charge. I'm going to read the entire post. This is kind of off on a tangent a little bit, and then I'll read the comment that, There's a scene in the Titanic which Jack and Rose climb onto the side of the ship as it sinks. Rose turns her head and sees a gentleman with a mustache looking terrified. That man was based on Charles Jockin, who was a badass in real life. He was interrogated by the British Titanic Inquiry, which was tasked with finding out how the Titanic had sunk. Below is his interrogation. What did you do with the children when you put them into the boat? Handed them into the boat or dropped them in? Threw them in? Threw them in. And what did you do with the mother? We wanted to throw her in, and I think she preferred to try and step in. What happened? She missed her footing. You said that you never went into your boat. Why did you not go, seeing that you were in charge? I would have set a bad example if I had jumped into the boat. None of the men felt inclined to get into the boat. When you found your boat had gone and you said you went down below, what did you do when you went down below? I went to my room for a drink. Drink of what? Spirits? The commissioner says, does it really much matter what it was? Mr. Cotter, yes, my lord, this is very important because I am going to prove, or rather my suggestion is, that he then had saved his life. I think his getting a drink had a lot to do with saving his life. In between helping women and children, Jockin kept returning to his cabin to take shots. When the final lifeboats departed, Jockin remained calm and rode the Titanic down like an elevator. A drunk person is more likely to freeze to death than a sober person. Because of vasodilation, dilation of the blood vessels, a drunk person is more prone to hypothermia because all the blood rushes away from the vital organs to the surface of the skin. However, in the case of Jockin, the North Atlantic Sea was approximately -2 Celsius, 26.4 Fahrenheit that night, which was cold enough to constrict his blood vessels and as a result counterbalance the alcohol in his system. Jockin said that he was relatively calm in the water and felt no pain. After spending 2 hours in the water, Jockin was able to climb aboard an overturned lifeboat and was later rescued. And comment, I'm hoping that it's because of how my logarithm is, but this was literally the first comment when I opened up the page. None of the men were inclined to get into the boat. That would never happen today. These incels would push women and children out of the way. Over 300 people liked her comment when I checked it. It's probably a lot higher now. And there were more response comments being like, oh yeah, they would push their own mother and all this horrible stuff. It became like a shame fest in the comment section. Shaming modern men in general. So first of all, we wanted equality. So we need to live with that, what that means, the good and the bad. But women like this always see it as we get to cherry pick what we want, and men are supposed to just take all the bad and none of the good that comes from it. What some of these toxic women forget is equality also means equal responsibility and risk and sacrifice. And I think we can all agree that yes, children should be first, no matter what. But for the toxic women to sit there and yell from the rooftops, I'm just as capable as a man, and then when things go bad, they want to get the lifeboat first because they're a woman? What? And I also feel like this woman, doesn't realize that she just proves that the problem is entitlement from women like her. It's not masculinity that's the problem. This comment assumes that, all modern men are selfish, when the truth actually is most modern men are just flat out exhausted because all day long they hear that they're not needed, that their masculinity is toxic, that they're privileged, even though they're the ones taking all the risk. Majority of homeless people are men. They're dying in wars and working themselves into the ground. Back in those times, men were respected and loved and appreciated. The way these toxic women act, the women back in that time would never, ever act like that, in general. And after all the sacrifices men make every day, even now, we wouldn't have electricity without them. They're the ones still mostly fighting in wars. They're doing the dangerous jobs, police officers, firefighters. We indirectly benefit from the labor and efforts and sacrifices of men every single day. And there's a ton of jobs I can't even think of right now that men do on a consistent basis. But after all of that, when a tragedy strikes, men are just supposed to accept the fact that they're expendable? Women like her that made the comment are always the one putting down men, making those videos, constantly. And then they want men to make the ultimate sacrifice for them. I can't even wrap my mind around how dumb that comment was. Even today, you see a car accident and you look to the side of the road and there's people parked and you always see men helping out whoever was in an accident or whoever's car won't start or whatever issue it was. Women, get a flat tire and men will pull over and say, hey, do you need some help with that? We see that all the time. But we are also lucky enough that we live in a time where stuff like that doesn't happen quite as often. And that toxic woman has no idea the type of privilege she has to even make a comment like that. To not even know for sure what would happen in one of those situations because she's never been in a situation like that. And again, a big chunk of that is due to men. The labor that they're putting in the background to create safety or build things to ensure safety for everybody. And this was also during a time where people did what they felt was the right thing to do. They had those morals overall. Something that society lacks a lot of these days, and it's not a gendered thing, it's everybody. There are literally women out there today who see it as shameful to cook for their family, cook a homemade meal from scratch for their family. But you're shaming men for not giving up their lives potentially, and we don't even know what the situation would look like in that sense. Who knows, maybe some of these toxic women would be shoving children aside. And I know 100% the women that make comments like this have been in situations where they were struggling or needed help and a man stopped what he was doing and offered help. And maybe it wasn't a big life or death type of thing. But even the small things matter, and in these moments, I would bet that these women didn't appreciate that man or say thank you. And she probably doesn't even remember it or see it as any significant thing. She probably just felt like she deserved it. She was entitled to it. And that's another problem with the mindset these days. Back and during those times, if a man opened a door for a woman or grabbed her bag for her, she would light up and say thank you and show so much gratitude. But we don't see that anymore. We see entitlement. Also, the gravity of what these men sacrificed. Over 1,500 people died on the Titanic, and the majority of them were men. Many of whom stepped aside so the women and children could live. And she acts like what these men gave up was insignificant and small, that every man should just willingly give that up. It's always comical to me when I see videos of women talking about how her future husband or her Prince Charming wouldn't be bothered or offended by her hating men in general. But why would a man want to be with a woman that sees men in general as disposable or believes the worst about them or has zero gratitude for what men have endured and still endure every day? And it's absolutely sick and disgusting. I hope we get to a point where this isn't common anymore and making comments like this is just considered unacceptable. And the fact that over 300 people clicked like on that comment is absolutely disturbing. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might benefit from it. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and let me know your thoughts.